I keep all my tools organized very clearly here in my wood shop. When things get misplaced or switched around, it can cause a lot of problems in my line of work. So you know, as an apprentice or anybody who's trying to make sense of this industry, the number one rule is return things where you find them immediately after you use them, and keep everything clear and organized. So as you can see, everything has a place, and there's a place for everything. So as a carpenter, I've learned over 35 years that the number one safety mechanism is a good toke of weed. So I keep some in my pocket right here all the time, and when you need to, you take a safety meeting. All the carpenters understand. So I've always found a 3/4 socket to be the perfect diameter circumference for the right hit of weed.
Hi, I'm a PC.
And I'm an outdated cliche sketch premise.
This sketch would have been a lot funnier around 2008, 2009.
A lot of people have done a much better job at doing this joke than we have.
When you have a body of work as large as we have, it just sort of happens that one of these comes up eventually. In conclusion, wide shot.
You know, whenever I get a new job, I generally keep my tools out where I can find them a couple of days, you know. And well, here, look here. There it is, good as new. This here is a bit. Now, but I don't have the bit I need. I get the one I need like it, and I take the old one off and you know, put it somewhere. Yeah, I'll find it. It's your ball. Don't need no supports. It is a load-bearing structure. Yeah, like my ex-wife.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me again tonight on the ICP News Network. I'm Keith Urban, and let's take a look at tonight's top stories. The international swag market has taken a sharp dive, leaving many trap artists and fuckboys to be totally freaked out.
First I was like, I got 99 problems and swag ain't one. But now I'm like, I got 100 problems.
At 5, I talked with our political correspondent, David fucking Cut It Out.
The newest trend in Washington is infighting. It's the most popular political fighting. So in right now.
You may have thought that microbeads were bad for the environment, and they are, but it turns out environmentalists have actually found an even larger threat: gigantic beads. These gigantic beads turn up in lakes and rivers all over the world, and they have the ability to roll over and crush some animals and even some small humans. More on this later. A new poll shows that female yoga patrons actually scored the highest out of any other group in their fear of death. Activist groups have been rising up all over the metropolitan areas, and several protests have been held outside of yoga studios, leaving many to wonder whether overly athletic women will ever come to the realization that their bodies will eventually die and rot and decay into the ground. The group scoring the highest in not fearing death actually turned out to be poets and, unsurprisingly, angsty teenage boys ages 14 to 24. And can you believe it? Celebrity couple David and Bethany Romano, the first openly gay man, lesbian woman couple, have split. Oh, so sad, I know. A sex tape aired on the internet last week showing Bethany, a lesbian woman, cheating on her husband David, a gay man, with another gay man. The whole video is far too graphic to air on a network like this, but here is a snippet of the sex tape because for some reason that is appropriate to show.
I hope your gay husband doesn't figure out you're cheating on another gay man even though you're only gay for women.
Don't worry, he's actually okay if I hook up with other girls who are actually guys as long as they're gay guys. And our top story, the biggest mess yet for the Trump presidency. The Dakota Access Pipeline, otherwise known as DAPL, has sprung a leak, and much to our surprise, it isn't filled with crude oil, but instead millions of gallons of Canadian dry whiskey. So far, engineers have not been able to stop the flow, and the crisp, delicious whiskey continues to pour out, threatening millions of homes in Illinois and the surrounding states. Uncharacteristically, the government is actually working rather quickly in this matter, and has already started constructing an 8-mile-long wall to help trap and contain the liquor. Due to all the building materials being tied up in the border wall, however, this new whiskey wall will be constructed entirely out of Mexican brickweed. We have word that additional workers are being immigrated from the border wall to help contain this mess and save as much alcohol for further enjoyment as possible. We go live to Cassandra Alalegolo on the scene now.
That's right, Keith. As you can see, the wall of weed behind me is nearly 20 feet high and edges up to that hill range to the west. There is a virtual lake of Canadian whiskey at the top that threatens to spill over at any moment. I talked to a team of canoers earlier who climbed at the top and said they were going to, quote, drink our way to freedom.
Interesting, Cassandra. Any word about the brickweed? Does anyone know if it's still going to be smokable after the leak stops?
No word on that, Keith, but I did once spill some pineapple rum in my weed jar in college, and it was still pretty okay after it dried out.
Right, and it is Mexican brickweed, so chances are it won't be too much worse than it is now anyways.
That's right. But I was told that the compactness of the weed would expand and absorb to create a nearly impenetrable wall in just a matter of hours. Let me ask these gentlemen what they think. Sir, how do you think this pipeline leak will affect the current progress on the border wall?
Actually, I have no idea. I'm just here because I thought there was waves.
And you, sir?
I've been on the protest circuit since Occupy, and I just have to say this is one of the best protests ever!
And how does this affect your opinion of the current administration?
Oh, I think they're super pissed that they had to stop building the border wall, but you know, I'm glad they secretly had our best interests in mind with all this whiskey they're pumping into the U.S.
More on this later.
We'll have more news on the DAPL disaster as it develops. And lastly, is America ready to join the other Asian countries in becoming a shame-based society? Trump seems to think so. Tell us what you think and more at infinitycheeseproject.com. I'm Keith Urban, and thank you again for joining us at the ICP News Network, the only network to bring you the cheesiest news.
First rule of carpentry, if you use these squishy ear plugs, you can just put them in your pocket and run them through the laundry. You don't have to wash them. This is called a captive nut. Those of you who are married already know what that feels like. Whenever I start a new project, the first thing I do is clear my workbench, which always creates new projects. So what I do is always put the first project on the workbench and never clean up. You'd think at this stage of life I would have figured out which way is tighter and which way is looser, but I have not. What I do though is somebody's looking and I get it wrong, I always tell them first you tighten it up, then you loosen it up. That's my technique.